Welcome to Art School with Dennis. Today we're going to be talking about the color wheel. Now, before you say, "Oh man, I've heard all about the color wheel," every time you do it, you'll learn something new. So let's get going. We begin with the primary colors. So you know what they are. You must probably do the yellow and the blue and the red. Okay. What I think is important is, in this video, we're going to be talking about how to lay out your color wheel, the importance of keeping your color wheel, and the importance of writing the names of the colors that you have used down. Okay, so what we'll do is we're going to place the color wheel. The way I like to do it is I like to place the color wheel with the yellow at the top, and there's a reason for that. I like to have my Y for yellow is a symmetrical figure, and that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to put yellow at the top of the color wheel. Then I like to say, okay, blue comes before red, so B for blue and R for red. That's the way I like to lay it out. And now the reason I do that is that B comes before R. It's so that as you go along, you actually start forming a picture in your head, and you don't have this switch over, and you don't have this kind of switch over. You have this basic layout, and your mind will remember it almost photographically, and you'll remember that this is how the color wheel's going to be laid out. So we can put this pen away for now. Okay, the next thing I'm going to do, going to be putting white in the middle of my color wheel. So we take out a nice handsome blob of white, and remember, acrylic dries very quickly, especially using a good quality cartridge paper, drawing paper, which you can use anything. If you feel you want to build your color wheel up almost permanently, you can use a canvas. So we put that aside. Okay, I'm going to wipe my palette knife off, and let's go through it. I'm not going to concentrate in this video about the specific names, but it's a lemon yellow. Okay, and we use it up here. We put a little bit out. Okay, and we can put that aside, and then we take a red, which is a cadmium red. It's your basic red. Okay, of course the color wheel can get really complicated, and we've got ultramarine, which I find to be the closest to the middle of blue. One thing I must point out, let's put the blue there. Ultramarine has got a content of red in it, so it's actually there, whereas a color like for instance sap green has got a content of yellow in it. So we would put sap green here. Sap green would be in here. And throughout the color wheel, you've got this graduation from yellow to blue, blue to red, and red to yellow. So let's mix up and let's see what happens. Really important in my mind is to mix it with yellow. The white gets mixed with the yellow. And it's not so important when it comes to the color yellow, but it does become important with colors like blue, because you don't know what that blue is unless you remember to read the label. So I'm going to clean that brush quickly, and I'm going to take the white and bring in a bit of blue, and then you really see the quality of the color of blue. Okay. So what I'm making little worms from, a little worm figure from light, white, to the darkest of ultramarine. So that's what we do there. Remember, we haven't even started crossing over to this color yet. So let's do that with the red, cadmium red. So I'm going to bring my white into the red, a little bit of red. You see as well how strong the pigment is. So blue's pigment may not be as strong as red, and we're coming up to a kind of a pink color here. Okay, well, let's start going from, let's go left to right across from my side, and I'm going to put a color in here. Okay, I want to really watch that that pink doesn't get in there. I'm going to try and pick up the red, and you may know this part, but what happens is we're going to get a beautiful fiery orange coming in here. Remember, the color wheel can also be this way around, and I'm just going to flip the page. The color wheel can be this way around, where my blue is on my right hand side, but in fact this is the way I like to do it every time we do the same thing. So now we've got a yellow and blue, and you may know from your early school days that that's going to make a kind of green color. Okay, remember that there is white inside this. There is white inside this paintbrush, but I can cross over there and find out what that green is going to do. Okay, very quickly we're going to go from blue to red. So we go from blue to red. You might also realize here that I'm using 3 brushes. I'll bring my blue. Look at the violet that comes up here. It's going to be a beautiful violet that comes up here. Violet, purple, dioxazine, any one of those names. Let's get a little bit of white in here and see what we get in terms of our color. In our climate, in some climates, your acrylic paint is going to dry extremely quickly. But you can see there are options that are open to, we've got a color wheel already. There's our color wheel. It's starting to spread throughout the wheel. It is said that the old days there was, green was considered to be a primary color, green. So it wasn't actually based on a wheel. Now I don't know how true that is, but I do believe that that has its merit, and that could be in the next video, another video, because the history of color is something that I'd like to discuss with you. But for now, that's the first segment. What let's do quickly is we're going to write in here red like that, and yellow like that, just so that we don't lose our way, and then blue. Okay, so there we are, and we'll see you in the next segment. Well, we're at the next segment, and we've had to change location because it started to rain, which is not a bad thing because the paper is now a little damp, and we're going to be able to blend colors across. But now what I would like to point out here is this color here is a very interesting color. If you look at this is Windsor Violet, and this is it's meant to be a purple. So what's happened here is a little bit of dirt has got into the paint brush, or sometimes the color red is okay straight out of the tube and blue is okay straight out of the tube, but when you actually mix it together and you want to get a kind of violet, which is going to be a distant mountain or something to that effect, what I'm demonstrating here is you're going to get we've got a perfect violet coming out of the tube, which is Windsor Violet, like that. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take the purple that comes out of the tube, and I'm going to put it into the white. So the message out of that is try not to rely on the color on the label of the tube. See, there's a completely different color because we're dealing with pure color. And now let's take this right across here, and because there's my graduation happening, and I'm going to slowly introduce the red. Okay, and you can see the variety of color that happens here. It's quite amazing. One thing I'd like to point out at this stage of the video, the presentation, why do you need a color wheel in the first place? Why would you need a color wheel? Why would you spend this time doing it? My answer to that is it's as a point of reference when you're trying to get a color. So you may want distant mountains. Okay, not a problem. But if you look at this beautiful color that's happening on this side, over here, as a distant mountain color, let's add a tiny bit of white. You see what happens here? Turns into a beautiful distant color for a mountain. You look at this blend that's happening. Now I'm coming very close to my red there. So let's introduce the red. We go across to the yellow and we're going to find an orange. And so getting back to why would you want to spend time on a color wheel? Number one, you've probably gone to the store and you've bought certain brands, certain items, and you don't want to throw the items away because you're trying to get all the items the same brand. No. So you might have a blue that you like with a certain brand. You might have a red that you like from a completely different brand. What you need to do is take that red that you like and that blue that you like and find out what happens when you blend it across this color wheel. That's what we're trying to do. And of course, I would say it's important to put that color wheel up on your studio wall. That's really important. This is cadmium red, okay? Just because my cadmium has dried out a bit, what I'm going to do is I'm going to really whack some yellow in, and we see how that goes. So what we've got at the moment is we've got a red going across to this orange. Here it is here. And we've got a yellow coming in there. So your color wheel is actually a flexible ball, if you like, of color doing all sorts of things. You can imagine from just these three colors that we've got, okay, and a fourth one, you can have endless amount of color coming out of this. So that's why it's important to write the color down. I think it's important to do that because you'll forget what the color is. Specific yellow coming across to the red, and you have this wonderful blend coming in from there. Okay, when I picked up a lot of red there, but look at that blend that comes in there, and it's almost airbrushed. I mean, you can spend a lot of time on this, blending the colors together. If you're an oil paint fan, make your color wheel out of oil paint, because then it doesn't dry too quickly. It takes time to dry. You've got lots of time to blend. Okay, but look at that. I mean, that's really cool. That's really cool. You can even take it down further. Don't forget, let's get a new brush in here. Your brush, the cleaner the brush, the better. You'll get better results from it. Okay, so what we've got is, I think, a wonderful blend coming across there. Let's take this red further. Let's take this red further into the violet or the purple. They are different, violet and purple, as reference names, but for this demonstration it doesn't really matter. Okay, so let's cover up that, and just look how beautiful that is. It's really working out nicely. We've really done a whole half of the color wheel, one whole half. Let's take blue. This is ultramarine, which is as we said in the previous segment, the ultramarine actually sits around about here on the blend. You've got other colors that are more central to blue, but we're not going to deal with that in this particular video. Let's take this color and we blend it across this way. Okay, we've got some red in there, but it doesn't matter because purple has got red in it. My brush is a little bit dirty, but not too bad. Let's just keep going here. So pick up some white, and I'm going to blend the blue into this purple at the bottom. Also, wonderful, wonderful distant color for your neutral mountains, neutral trees. I'm just picking up white on this side. Look at that amazing color for a distant, any distance, houses, buildings, anything that's got a lot of distance in it. The strangest thing is it actually works with portraits, which has very little distance or focal point between the front and the back, like a landscape would. Okay, so now let's see what happens as we go along. We're going to blend in our blue to our green, which was also a little bit dirty. It's not, but that as a distant green is a fantastic color. Eh? And now let's take our green. What I'm saying is that this is actually easier than you think. You can do this. Just take it easy. You don't have to do it all in one sitting, but you just take it easy. What is important is to try and remember what colors you've used, so that you come back on your next sitting and you have the same basic grid of how things worked. I'm going to put that brush in the water again, let it get settled. Now the last thing we're going to do is we're going to take the green as we have it, even the dirty green, which is fine. I'm going to touch a little bit of white in here. Now fortunately you might not catch that on the camera, but not a good idea to dip your dirty brush into the tub, but we'll sort that out later. We've got a soft green again. Look at that as a distant color. Distant color. Now I'm going to take it and I'm going to bring some yellow in. And as you can see, the graduation is really, really beautiful. It's working very nicely. Okay, this red is in the wrong place. This red is in the wrong place, but that doesn't matter. You just maybe crush it a bit and just get it out of the wheel, so that you recall where you're going. Now look at that. We can take that out, taking green across here. Now what I'm doing here is I actually like to put my white in the middle of the wheel, and even the blends that are happening between yellow and green, I'm going to take those blends and I'm going to add a little bit of white to it on every level. So you're going across this way, down all the way to your white. It's almost like the white is starting to stand up on the top of the ball. So that's how I like to look at a color wheel. I'm making a ball. So what we've discussed is the intense colors on the side of this color wheel are actually the edge of the ball, and we're going to be getting white in the middle. The middle will carry the white, so I'll just put a little blob on each side. The longer you spend on your particular color wheel, the more blended this entire thing is going to be. So let's continue with this one. And we're going to, of course, we said we're going to ignore this red because it's actually super yellow, which is down here. And we're going to bring in the white, so the white becomes almost a highlight sitting on top of your ball. And don't forget also, the reason we're doing this is to eventually put this on your studio wall. Keep it on your studio wall. Refer to it all the time. Okay, so as you can see, we're coming right into a point where it's almost pure white sitting in the middle of our color wheel. Yeah, we can continue with this dirty brush. As you can see, it's got red in it, but it doesn't matter because we've got red on this side. I'm just going to wet my brush a little so it blends. This again, this here is too much red. This should be an orange, and we'll get that back now. Another thing I'd like to point out is that we've actually, beside the purple, we've only used 3 colors. We've only used 3 colors to get what we've got on this particular color wheel. Another thing to really think about is that each time you do the color wheel, it's going to be completely different, and that's the fun. This is real fun. When you get tired of painting and you need a break, this is more the technical side of painting. I'm going right across with my dirty brush. The other thing that can be said at this point in time, yellow is the most affected color by a dirty brush. Other colors are not as impacted by a dirty brush. We've gone all the way around here with this dirty brush. Oh, there's too much purple in there, there's too much violet, not to twist the brush over. There's a blob on that side, there's nothing on this side. We can get us back to white. Okay, now it's kind of crossing over to the blue. There's a little bit of violet coming in, and we're crossing over to blue here, which also creates just wonderful blends. Another thing that I can say is I'm crisscrossing my brush. It's getting full of all sorts of colors. I'm going backwards and forwards and backwards and forwards, crisscrossing, not pressing too hard. Okay, well, I'm going to lose this brush. I'm going to put it into my jar of water, and I'm going to go to a fairly new brush. What we've got now is a dry green that has happened on this side, so I'm going to regenerate that. I'm going to use the same blue. We're not changing the color. Same blue. We put it right in there. We don't need a lot. Don't need a lot of it. And we're going to use the same yellow, which instead of being there is going to be, well, that's a soft yellow, very soft. Areas that have to be ignored for now. And let's pick up some super blue, super yellow and super blue, and we put them together. There you've got a green. So let's try and ignore that. It happens. That yellow is a very soft color. It sort of drops out of the tube. There's my white, and I'm going to blend it right across here. Blend it right across. Kind of working as a little worm type of thing. Yeah, must try not to do that. But that's okay for now. I'm not going to touch the blue. Well, I'll touch it later. I'm going to cross over here, and now we have this. Now, if you take a look at this entire thing, beside the blob and a blob and a blob and a blob, you can see that this actually turns into a sphere, into a ball. It's almost like it's a polystyrene ball of color. Let's take this blue and push it all the way to blue. You can even blend it across there, blend it across here. There's a nice shadow edge of something. There's a nice shadow edge of something. Okay. So what I'm going to do now, just so that it's not so distracting, I'm going to twist my brush off and get this paint out of here, because it's a little distracting on the eye. Okay, it's going to happen, and that's okay, not so serious. While we've got the yellow, we might as well fix this problem and blend across here. There's still a little bit. So this becomes a warm yellow. This becomes a warm yellow. Very interestingly, you've got this axis that runs down here, and yellow turns warm and turns cool very quickly. This side of the color wheel, of course, is warm. It's like a fire. And this side of the color wheel is like ice and water. This side, this point of the color wheel, is very closely related to cool and very closely related to warm. So what you have is these axes running down this way, okay, and you have another axis running across this way. Warm colors, red and orange, warm yellow, warm violet over here, and then you see it goes like a lemon color, goes like a cool lemon color. And if you imagine the taste of a lemon, it's not warm. It feels cool. It does not feel warm to taste a lemon. We go across here, it's very, very cold, very, very cold over here, and then it starts warming up, and then it swings over to warm. So you have this axis. Now I'm going to kind of almost I don't know if I want to draw that axis in because it's going to destroy my color wheel, but that's the reason we do a color wheel, is to blend it all together. And once you're doing it, once you're blending these essentially three colors, we did add a purple, as you remember, and a fourth color, which is a little bit cheating, but you know, for the demonstration, yellow, blue and red, we had to push this one to make sure that we had the right purple. Okay, so what you want to remember when you're doing this exercise is you're going to use a lot of brushes. Don't worry about your brushes being dirty, just put them in the water and continue blending. Here's another thing I see. You see this point here? It is not blended. So it's very much a sharp edge here. So what we want to do is you can go on like this forever. You can really blend it forever. And we take that edge off and bring it down in here. Now most of the paint is starting to dry, but there we have it. I think that's pretty much it. So the important things, just to recap on everything, is when you've done your color wheel, put it up on your studio wall. As you start to improve your color wheel technique as such, you can just keep on adding to that color wheel. Don't forget to write the color number down, because now we don't know what that yellow is, we don't know what that red is, we don't know what that blue is. It happens to be lemon, cadmium and ultramarine. Okay, so I'd like to sign off there, and thank you very much for watching. It's been real fun.